Hey guys, I was originally gonna react to a just about the same one video, but I was listening to this video. It made me kind of angry, so we're going with this. Okay, let's do it.
Work. This is slightly less jokey as well this time around. Yeah, so I've had enough. I've had enough. This has been a long time coming, but I have finally had enough. In fact, there's been so much enoughness had that I'm having to do a follow-up video focusing on another creator with some similar criticisms, but different-ish kind of ballpark. Yeah, just it's been building for a while. And then there was a response to a recent event that I found quite disgusting. So yeah, and you may be thinking that the title is mean, but I thought that an inflammatory title generalizing women looked like fun. All the red pill girls are doing it. So this is paying homage to their genius. So, people for a long time keep asking me what I think of Just Pearly Things. People keep telling me to get in touch with Just Pearly Things, and people keep wanting me to comment on Just Pearly Things. People have been saying this to me for months and months now, so I've been aware of her for probably longer than most people. Congratulations to her for that astronomically quick rise in success. It's very impressive, and she's clearly very hardworking, so well done, Pearl. That's to be commended. Remember that, because that's probably the only nice thing that I'm going to say about her. I think she oversimplifies everything. I think the content...
Sorry about that.
Of her show is unoriginal, uncreative, unintelligent, repetitive, and incredibly dull, where they just mostly seem to have the same conversation over and over again, but with different girls. I think she's incapable of nuanced thinking, and you can pretty much predict everything she's going to say based on what she thinks will most piss off women. And I think she's intentionally as inflammatory as possible, and then sits there looking smug and expecting everyone to overreact and get triggered, because apparently she's an edgy 12-year-old boy. In short, she's Jake Paul.
It's like, don't ask the next guy to wait for you. Just sleep with him, ho.
So, if you don't sleep with a guy right away, that makes you a hoe. Do I got that right? Well, how did that make any sense? Do you think about the things you say?
Oh, you a hoe. Stop acting like you're not a hoe.
So if you act like you're not a hoe, that makes you not a hoe? If you're trying to exhibit some self-control. That makes you a bad person? I, I'd like to see what's going on in their brain.
She called me slag, which I didn't know what that meant at the time. I'm not British, so I'm like, but I knew it was an insult. I knew I was being insulted, okay? So I said, "You're a whale."
That's something a child would say. Hey, I don't know what you said, but I knew it was bad. So you're fat. Seriously, that's childish behavior. Trash and childish.
You're a whale. You're a whale.
Jake, I wouldn't do that.
You could see maybe the whale was too far.
I wouldn't crawl up there.
Well, just calling someone a name isn't particularly mean. I mean, that's not saying something about. I mean, just saying you're fat is a declarative statement. If someone is fat, they're fat. They're not saying really anything rude.
There. Why? Okay.
But she was a bigger woman.
They're complaining. They're very upset.
No, why?
I don't think women should know.
I did not believe that from Jake Paul.
I don't think women should know.
And they're real.
What? What?
Really upset.
No, I
Can't
honestly,
beat them, join them.
No, I'd get rid of birth control. I'd ban it, but that'll never happen.
We've created
Why? I would like her to develop that.
a living hell out here. That it's like a circus.
yeah, it is.
All the fans.
I think that's the root of all evil.
There's nothing we can do though. The Jake Paulers are the strongest army out there. Dab.
Girls say broke men shouldn't have an opinion, but the guys don't say fat chicks shouldn't have an opinion.
For one, why? Why? For one, why shouldn't broke men have an opinion? And why shouldn't fat women have an opinion? What does fat? For one, you can be fat and rich, so I don't understand the correlation there. You know, do you just like calling women fat?
Some people say I'm a savage too.
Even down to this. What is all this? What's going on here? With the whales.
Y'all can call me what you want on the internet, but you can't call me fat. So
You put a lot of self-worth into your looks when you probably should put it into your personality, because you sound like a bitchy person.
get out. Look it.
I hope you're dabbing on them haters.
Subscribe to the channel. Ring that notification bell. My fans who got me through this,
Make sure you're dabbing on them haters.
Slag, that's like me calling you a bitch.
Why not dab?
Dab.
Show them how savage you are, you little edgelord.
I said, you're a grown ass woman. Why are you acting like this?
You be out here, pal, dabbing on these hoes.
So she called me a slag.
Someone's got to do it. Someone's got to dab on these hoes.
Because if you've never been told you ain't shit, you're gonna think you're the shit all the time. Like sometimes you need someone to tell you ain't shit.
Dabbing.
And I tell her, I'm like, you're a fucking whale. Now look it.
Cash me outside. How about that?
I personally don't even feel like I insulted her. I just said what was.
I hope you're dead.
I mean, if you wouldn't have said it, you clearly thought of it as an insult because you felt like you were insulted. So you said it as an insult. I personally wouldn't, if I were trying to insult someone, I wouldn't. I would try to attack their character. But you clearly thought it was an insult. So you tried to insult them. That's what you were trying to do. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't have said, "Would that too far?" I don't think you cared if it went too far. Because if you did, you wouldn't have said it. But clearly you thought it was an insult. I'll be right back. Oh, sorry about that. I am back. I just had to help someone. Watch Renaissance Periodization. If look up Mike Israetel if you want to get a good workout in. Anyway,
Stabbing on the mater.
So I said, "You're a whale. You're a whale. You're a whale."
she clearly
Stabbing on the mater.
So I said, "You're a whale."
she clearly wouldn't have said that if she thought it wasn't. If she thought it, she clearly wouldn't have said that if she thought it wasn't a insult.
You're a whale. You're a whale.
I commend you on being the shining example of ladylike behavior we should all aspire to achieve. Yes, if Jake Paul was a woman and decided
from that, I don't think she cares about how she acts. She'll say anything to get a rise out of people.
to move to the UK and start a Red Pill YouTube channel just by ripping off Fresh and Fit's format and attitude, I imagine the result...
Oh, that's funny because Fresh and Fit, they just got outed for scamming people.
Would be something remarkably similar to Just Pearly Things. If you're going to rip anyone off, why pick Tweedledum and Tweedledummer? That's the real travesty here. It's just disappointing, Pearl. I mean, if I was going to rip anyone off, I'd at least choose someone intelligent, entertaining, and likable who isn't seen as a complete and total joke, but, you know, that's just me. My main problem with Pearl is that I think she's far more interested in embarrassing or getting one over on women than she is in the truth. I've leveled this criticism at how the Red Pill movement in general goes about their message.
There's a selfishness of modern women. Well, she looks upset about something. She looks like she doesn't particularly care.
But it's very valid with Pearl. Her show strikes me...
Okay, truth about whale syndrome. See, that... She clearly thinks it's an insult, you know? Go watch Neebs Gaming. She clearly thinks it's an insult. Don't call them whales. See, she knows it's an insult. She's using them in the title.
To be honest, is more of an outlet where men can vent all their frustrations with women in the dating world.
What?
And sometimes those frustrations will be valid, and sometimes they won't be. But regardless, it strikes me more as a cathartic outlet for people rather than something that's actually going to help. If anything, I think it will only make male...
I disagree with this statement, but doesn't Pearly Thing say women aren't rational either? Anyway,
male-female dynamics worse and push women further away from wanting to understand things from a male perspective.
Women are not capable of leadership. Well, that's clearly false because she's the leader of her own YouTube channel. So whoever said that, it's clearly false and doesn't... That it's so false. Yeah, if this woman said it, you would have had to let something in your life, you know? Even if you're in charge of your kids or in charge of a group of people, that's so completely false because leadership is... It's not this big fucking thing. It can be small things, right? I don't understand how you can say that. But there are already women in leadership roles, and they're doing pretty good. This breaks my brain.
I made this comparison before, but this abrasive way of going about things, that attitude of, you know, women suck and it's them that are ruining...
She clearly thinks this, right? Anyway,
everything and causing all the problems. Yeah, I mean, that didn't work when the feminists did it.
Why women are the reason men cheat? No, women I mean, ultimately, it's your choice. If it's a combination of both, because if let's say I go after a taken person, right? It's my fault for knowing that person was taken, right? So it's my fault, but it's also their fault for reciprocating it. So it's a two-way street. So it's both of your fault.
It to men. So why in the hell would you think it would work when red pillars do it to women? I mean, if you just want your own back, like fine, I guess go for it, go crazy. But I just see it as an exercise in futility geared more towards self-indulgence and appealing to frustrations rather than a genuine attempt to make things better. If there were feminists with a podcast, I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are many. I'm sure if they're sitting around and enjoyed embarrassing men and putting the majority of the blame on men and had a general attitude of men suck and it's always their fault and they're always to blame, even if they had some valid points, I think most men would be totally unwilling to listen to them and would just think, yeah, everything they say is total crap. They just have problems with blokes. I'm not even going to listen to the valid points. And they'd be justified in doing
it. I would like to think I would be more measured than that. I would take, obviously, the wrong criticism and the right criticism and combine them both. At least I would hope I would do
that. And I think podcasts like Pearls do absolutely do the same with women. So how do I know this? Because I am a woman. I don't describe myself as a feminist. And I'm
not a woman or a feminist, if you couldn't tell.
Very sympathetic towards certain red pill talking points and problems for men. And yet, even when I hear Pearl, I get an urge to just go, yeah, fuck you. This is just disdain towards women masquerading as advice. So if that's the reaction you're getting from me, what sort of reaction do you think an average woman who's totally unaware of some of the validity or truth in red pill, what sort of reaction do we think she'll have? I think she'd tell you.
You know what? I should have got me and my girlfriend I think I'm gonna do this video again, reacting to it with my girlfriend and maybe a couple of her friends too. That'd be nice.
Tell you all to go and fuck yourselves and be totally unwilling to even consider if there's truth in your point of view. I'm just thinking of my girlfriends who are all totally, bless them, totally unaware of the online world.
Just kind of off topic, but I just burnt my fingers on while making some hash browns. Now it's all numb.
So any cultural or anything, they're out having fun, living their lives, and they're all nice, decent girls who treat men well. And if I showed them clips of Pearl, they'd just be like, this girl kind of seems like a bitch and like she just doesn't like women. What's her problem? And no, that's not another example of women being unable to take accountability. Don't give me that crap. Men do exactly the same when you talk down to them and blame them for everything. That's people. That's not how you convince people in general to listen to you. So now, of course, the obvious response to this is that Pearl's channel is for men and not for women. Fine. I still think it's a valid criticism, though, that she's pushing.
I think there would be a condemnation on men, too, if you hear some of the things she says.
Women away, even if she is mostly geared towards men. Though that's debatable.
A lot of the things she said so far.
Because she started the absolute cringe that is wife school. So there does seem to be some appeal to...
I need to know more about that. What? Wife school? What?
Women there. However, I'd also be skeptical of the overall good it's doing for men.
Well, the idea that the two of you don't agree that some of the things about you are good, some are bad, and you accept the bad and accept the good. You meet in the middle of 50-50. What's wrong with that? Like the idea that you need to, presumably the idea going to wife school is you need to hide some of the stuff you are, train yourself out of some shit, right? Because that's what school is, training, learning things. So the idea that you're not good enough the way you are. I mean, who is? But you know what I mean.
I'll give Pearl credit.
What I mean, here, I'll just explain. You're not, obviously, you go to school to learn new stuff, right? But what I mean is good enough, in your personality, because there's somebody out there for everyone. And if you want a specific person, obviously, you're going to try and learn better habits, right? Whatever those habits may be to get that particular person. But the idea that there is a certain way to be to get all men, I just don't agree with that. I'm making a whole lot of assumptions.
And I think she does a good job in pointing out toxic feminine behavior. She does a good job in some of her criticisms of feminism and in bringing up things men should be wary of and look out for. But I've watched her stuff, and I know what the general attitude of her channel is geared towards. And there is undeniably a massive tilt towards worst case scenario, towards always emphasizing the worst types of women or the worst types of female behaviors and presenting that as the most common, and also towards placing most of the blame on
Modern women are indecisive. I think that's just people in general. People are indecisive.
Women and letting men off the hook and free from personal responsibility far too often. I get she's trying to.
Modern women destroy a home for selfish reasons. Women and men can do that. And have probably done that since time in the memoriam.
Correct for her feeling that women are too often given a free pass, but there is such a thing as overcorrecting.
I mean, she looked pretty feminine. Do you look? She looked pretty feminine. I don't know which.
I would question.
I mean, I don't care as much if she got triggered, whether she's right. You know, you can be as angry as you want, but if you're right, you're right. You know.
Question how healthy doing all of that is for men as well. I would say it could potentially just fuel.
Irresponsible. I say some modern women are irresponsible. I think you are definitely irresponsible. But with the things you say, but at least that's so far. But modern women blanket statement are irresponsible. I feel very clickbaity. And it might be clickbait, and sometimes you need to clickbait, but I'd like more information on that. Maybe
a lot of resentment towards women, make it seem impossible for men to ever have a relationship with a woman who genuinely loves them and isn't.
Ooh, destiny. Modern women are toxic. I think some women throughout history are toxic. Are more women toxic nowadays? I think. If I were to hazard a guess, you notice more toxic women now because of the internet, and you're able to contact, and you're able to see so many people at one time. You get more of the toxicity, but I think people were always toxic. A lot of people were always toxic. You just didn't know about them because you had no contact with them.
A conniving bitch, and honestly kind of make men paranoid and give them a twisted, unhealthy view on most women. She'll constantly talk.
Same thing, same measured response about this,
about how easy life is for women and how women hardly have any struggles and blah.
I think you were acting like a child before, so are you saying that about yourself?
Blah, 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 on and on, which, there's no issue in pointing out female privilege and benefits we have that men don't and struggles that men face. But it's not true that a woman's life is just easy. That's just dumb and intentional.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's put all the working stuff aside. Like, I personally wouldn't want to be a woman, I learned a lot of stuff about women. Like, you go through a couple different periods. A couple of different puberties, and then you go through period every month. You get birth, all this shit. I wouldn't want to bleed like every month. That'd be horrible and feel awful and painful. Go through a couple of different periods. A couple of different puberties. That'd be awful, and women are more likely to be raped. Obviously, men are more likely to be assaulted and all this stuff. Being a man, I wouldn't want to be a woman because there seems a lot of baggage with it, and I just enjoy being a man. because I don't have to deal with all that shit. Do intersex people get both? Well, because I know you can be born with both genitals, right? So do you get the best and worst of both? I would just want to die at that point.
Intentionally inflammatory and incredibly childish. I think men and women.
For one, she doesn't look overweight, you know? I would like you to know your definition of overweight.
Women have difficulties in different areas, and I think it would be impossible to measure who has it harder. How would you even quantify that? You're comparing apples to oranges. But regardless, what sort of resentment is that building to constantly present the idea that men spend all their lives struggling and suffering while women are just out there living a high life without having earned it?
Yeah, like, listen, I've seen Pearly Theater. So Pearly Things grew up very rich. She grew up very rich. So even if she had it easy, she must know that isn't the case for everyone. And if she's a woman, so she had puberty and periods and all this stuff. That stuff is awful. So I'd like to know more about that. And the authentic observer may just be laying her points out. But I would like to know all. We have 2 hours.
The tiny minority of Instagram models are not most women. It's funny because that's exactly the same appeal the feminists gave to women in order to create loads of resentment towards men. And as far as I can tell, Pearl is engaging in the exact same behavior designed to appeal to the worst human emotions and get an intense reaction. I thought we didn't like the communist Marxist tactics of presenting one group of people as unjustifiably privileged in order to make another group of people feel really hard done by and resentful so that they turn on the first group and want to put them in their place? Or is that only okay when red pillars do it? I also, frankly,
I think people justify what, especially people who just want to say things to be edgy, justify anything they say, to say whatever they want and feel however they want, you know? It's easier to justify people you hate as bad. It's easier to do bad things when you justify it to yourself that the people you're doing it to are bad.
frankly, think it's damn cheeky and very self-absorbed of her. Pearl talks about how easy her life is, and therefore, this is all women apparently. For someone who thinks facts are important, she bases an incredible amount on her own personal experience as a woman.
Especially, she was clearly lying about the whale thing, you know?
It's worth pointing out that Pearl comes from a large and loving family, and also that her father is extraordinarily wealthy. So it just makes me think, honey, you had it easy. That's you. It's pretty self-absorbed to project your own experience onto everyone. You are not all women. You had an easy life? Yeah, no shit. That's what wealth and education and security in a big loving family gives you, an easier life than most. I know a few older women whose lives were not improved because they are female, where it was a hindrance rather than a help, and they would laugh in your face if they were to hear you talk about how easy it's supposed to be.
Well, I'm gonna finish this video later because my internet is dying. Do I have any updates? No, I think I'm good. I just need to get rid of this guy.
Supposedly been, and probably tell you to get down from your high horse. You know whose lives were worsened because they were female? Working class English girls who were on a large scale groomed and raped and abused and then ignored and told to shut up by the authorities.
I don't think you even need to say this. I think just point to basically any woman on the street had a hard life. People have hard lives, you know? It's certainly a spectrum. And if you want to go to the worst example, you can, but I wouldn't even go there, to defeat her point.
Being female kind of fucked things up for them in that regard. But we'll get to sex trafficking later because you've got some very interesting things to say about that, Pearl. An example of Pearl's utter lack of nuance and her always picking the answer that shows women in the worst possible light and saying something, I think, just to be inflammatory, is from Vice's feminism panel. So now this was an absolute shit show. It was. The feminists did terribly, were nonsensical, aggressive, illogical, and unable to answer the simplest of questions. What barriers do women face in society? Well, I'm disabled. What? Simplest of questions. What barriers do women face?
What barrier do women face in modern society? I think that's a very broad question, and I would like you to narrow it down. That's a bad question.
Face in society. Well, I'm disabled. What? Everyone has been talking about how well Sydney Watson and Pearl did in debating them, but I kind of disagree. I think Sydney did a good job. Pearl, I mean, given how idiotic the women they were talking to were, it wasn't exactly hard to come across as reasonable. So there's a moment where they're talking about the pay gap, which, yes, has been debunked many times. The gap in men and women's earnings isn't down to sexism. But Pearl's big brain answer is that women just don't want...
No, women work different jobs, take different times off. You got maternity leave. You got all these things that women, want to take less earning jobs. Yet, obviously... qualify, but women take less paid jobs, lower earning jobs, nursing, working with pets, all that kind of stuff.
Don't want to work hard.
In general cases.
That's it. Women lazy and don't want to do hard jobs.
I've seen more than one female construction worker.
The pay gap doesn't exist.
My friend.
It doesn't.
It's
the industries that women pick.
Let's talk about
There's
it.
a pay gap, but it's because women don't want to do the hardest industries.
Dab. The thing that kind of irritates me about this, I've spoken about this before and I don't fully have time to cover it now, but it's that red pillars act like women just want to spend all their time getting their nails done or partying with Chad on a yacht. We'll just ignore all the hard jobs that women do, which don't require as much physical strength, but are still unglamorous and tough. Female-dominated.
I don't know how you become this popular with having these points, because that is objectively wrong, just wrong. And that's so clearly wrong. I don't know how anyone would believe you.
Industries like care, for example.
Could I get famous by just saying absurdly wrong shit?
You're cleaning up human shit. It's not a job a lot of people would want to do, and watching people suffer and die, and it's emotionally exhausting, amongst other things, and it takes an immense toll. My grandmother was a nurse. She was a tiny woman, 4'10", and she ended up with lifelong back problems from years of hauling around patients bigger than her. Same with my aunt.
I do a lot of moving jobs. I wonder. Oh, that's your daily ASMR. That felt good.
My foot, permanent back damage from years of nursing. But yeah, it's just because women are lazy and they don't want to do anything hard. Now, to be fair to Pearl, maybe she said more than this and they edited her answer. I doubt it, because she says stuff like this all the time. But then, thank God, Sydney Watson comes in with a fucking intelligent and reasonable explanation.
It sounds like Pearly thinks it's just like Hassan in that way, where Hassan says a lot of stupid shit that are false or misinformed. That it's just like, how did you come to that position? But he clearly doesn't care, and I don't think Pearly cares.
I don't think it's that simple. I think that's an oversimplification. I think the fact of the matter is that women structure their lives differently to men. Men don't give birth. Men don't have to carry pregnancies. Men don't have to be the primary caregiver most of the time. Women also don't hold jobs for as long as men do. They often will stop and start. They'll go back into work. They'll take time off. They'll take part-time jobs. The way that men work and women work are astronomically different. And to try to say that they're comparable is where this issue comes from. They're not comparable.
This is more nuanced and more true. Yes, men and women do structure their lives differently, and women are less likely to prioritize a career, but not because women are just pampered and entitled, like Pearl implied. It's that men and women have different priorities. Now, is it true that some women will be pampered and entitled? Of course.
Yeah, that's true for both genders, obviously. So I don't.
Same with some men. But is that the reason for a societal pay gap? Probably not.
No, I go back to the point. If women were just paid less, why would I ever hire men? You know, if it was a societal thing that women are just paid less, I would never hire a man. You know, I'd be like, well, I can pay a woman less. Well, I wouldn't pay them less because I don't think that's right. But if I would this morally bankrupt, and it did happen, I just wouldn't hire a man, you know?
In the UK, most women work and are raising kids, so I kind of resent this attitude that all modern women are just insta-hoes who just can't be bothered. So this is what I mean. This is my frustrations with Pearl, because there's a level of truth in a lot of things she says, but way oversimplified, way boiled down into just like whatever presentation is going to present women the worst. So there's a level of truth in Pearl's answer. It is also true that a lot of high-paying jobs women are just less interested in, and that's one factor, not the whole truth, but one factor in men earning more. But that doesn't mean that women are just spoiled
And some men want to take care of women more so they don't have to work, all this stuff.
and lazy and don't want to do anything tough. It's just always presenting women in the worst possible light to pander to men in a way that I find simpering and embarrassing. No, I think the truth is that Pearl is spoiled and pampered and doesn't want to do anything tough. Let's not project, shall we? See, if I was a woman who needed convincing, I would be far more likely to listen to Sydney's reasoning and recognise it as true than I would Pearl's edgy dunk on women. To be honest, I thought Sydney didn't just shout at the feminists.
The internet sucks.
But I really thought she also showed Pearl up. I've always found Pearl
You know what?
way too simplistic in her thinking, as I say, and lacking in nuance, and like she's
My internet's starting to suck, so I'll finish the video later. Thank you. Like and subscribe and comment.